At Dyskyon Mall, we are always at the center. Our market capture is omnipresent, drawing in the lost, one by one.
Diego wrenched open the door of the wrecked sedan. No driver, no blood, nothing. He glanced into the rearview mirror and saw not the storm-swept highway, but the vast, endless aisles of a mall stretching behind him.
Where the hell is everyone?
In the flickering light, a reflection appeared in Mariana's wide, terrified eye.
What does it mean, daily items? What does that mean?
I don't want to know.
Weather advisory, Emerson County. Severe storm warning.
Where is it?
Driving winds in excess of 70 miles per hour.
Nightstand.
All size hail predicted by.
Damn it. Stupid NOAA alerts.
Breaking news, ladies and gents. I've got fresh reports tonight.
Mateo, turn it down! Or put on some damn headphones!
Covering Michigan. No. Tonight we're going to talk about a neurological
One day off this
research
week.
institute in Chicago. But before I go into the snoring...
Feels like I'm living with Bill
Let's
Cooper.
dive into how everyone there was murdered to death. Also, none of the
4:44
victims had ID,
AM or PM?
as in...
Why is the screen
no
blurry?
paper trail. At all.
Severe storm warning in effect?
Sunnyvale
Since
Plaza
when?
Massacre. In the cramped industrial sector of Chicago.
Let's see what the damage is.
Off the bat, I'm getting conflicting reports from local...
Outside was a shade away from pitch black. Not night, something else. The cloud deck churned low, rolling like a bruise spreading across the sky.
all over it. I'm your host. Welcome to the hospital. We're going to slide into our break here for a second.
Okay, that does not look good.
You're listening to Behind the Veil.
Bájale. Basura conspirativa. Arruinarás tu mente.
This guy knows things, Mom.
Does he know you have finals? ¿Y tú lo sabes?
Good morning, Diego.
Morning, Tia.
D, new Behind the Veil episode dropped this morning. Check it out.
Yeah, Mateo. I've been hearing it through the walls. Forgot I had Don't Disturb on.
You have 4 new voice messages and 0 saved messages. To listen to your new messages, press 1. To listen to your first new message.
Mr. Ortega, this is Special Agent Edward Conch, FBI. I don't usually work the missing persons desk, but a close friend of mine reached out and wanted me to personally follow up on your case.
What?
Just checking off boxes here. Doubt you'll get this. But on the off chance you do, can you please reach out to my office? Or better yet, call your family so they stop calling us to find you.
Nice try, scammer.
Message deleted.
Yo, D got feds on his ass. Boop boop.
Less talking, more studying.
D, where you at? Station's calling us in.
D, hustle, man. Roads are going to be hell.
Chief here. I'm calling everyone in, including you. Get your ass to the station, now.
¿Qué te pasa, Diego?
Shit.
He pivoted, sprinting back to his room. Shirt, hoodie, coat, grabbed whatever was closest. His truck keys jingled as he snatched them off the dresser. His aunt shoved a steaming mug into his hand on instinct. He downed it in one gulp.
Everything okay, Tio? Storm's coming. Bad one.
You guys need help down at the station?
Yeah. And you can help by looking after your mom. Turn that crap off and keep an ear on the news. Get to the basement if this turns pear-shaped. And if it's a fluke, you better not fail that test.
I got this, man. Be safe out there. Diego gave a quick nod and pulled the door open.
Rotation spotted. Miles east of. Residents advised. Take shelter immediately.
¡Cuidado! Y no te olvides la moto, Diego.
He jumped into the truck, tossed the keys into the ignition, and peeled out into the screaming wind toward Station 22. The apartment complex shuddered under wind gusts as Diego reversed onto the street. His tires found no purchase on the slick asphalt. He crawled forward at 20, gaze flicking between the boiling clouds and the glistening road. The blockage appeared without warning on Oak Ridge, orange cones scattered like fallen sentries, blackened streaks carved into pavement. A Tailwind semi twisted sideways, its cab accordioned against a concrete divider. The Tailwind incident, Tuesday's headline news across Emerson County. But this was Friday. The wreckage should have been cleared days ago. Yet here it sat, debris untouched, metal still cooling. No flashing lights, no turnout gear, not a single uniform directing the non-existent traffic. Just aftermath frozen in time, as if the universe had paused mid-disaster and forgotten to resume.
The hell? Public Works asleep at the wheel again. My property tax is at work.
He navigated the narrow gap between wreck and curb, fighting the impulse to pull over. His phone connected automatically as he thumbed Chief Ross's contact. Better warn them he was en route. Rain intensified to sideways needles as he hit the main stretch towards Station 22. Visibility tanked. Streetlights flickered. A sedan fishtailed across the center line out of nowhere, spinning like it had hit ice. Behind it, a pickup swerved to avoid impact, clipped the back end. Then a city bus skidded into the collapsing mess.
You've got to be kidding.
When everything finally stopped, Diego was hanging sideways in his seatbelt, breath punched out of him. He spat blood, unlatched, fell hard onto the passenger side window. He crawled out through the shattered windshield. Diego staggered forward, boots sliding through rainwater mixed with gasoline. The pileup sprawled across 2 lanes, vehicles crumpled and steaming, metal twisted into modern art. The truck ahead sat nose first against the barrier, driver's door hanging open. A Chevy Silverado, maybe 5 years old. Hazard lights still blinking their slow rhythm. Diego reached the cab, braced himself against the frame. Empty. No driver slumped over the wheel. No passenger crushed against the dashboard. The seatbelt hung limp, buckle swaying slightly in the wind. He leaned in further, scanning the footwell, the back seat. Nothing. No blood on the upholstery. No shattered phone on the floor. Just an empty soda bottle in the center console.
These guys hit and run? Seriously?
Diego hunched against the downpour, each step a battle against the wind as he made his way to the shattered bus. The disaster was a rough collage, glass, steel, smoke, hail still rattling across the upturned hoods. The city bus had sheared a light pole clear in 2. Not a sound from inside, not even the groan of flexing metal. The main doors had jammed offset from the frame, flaring out at the bottom like a fish's mouth. He wrenched them apart, boots slipping on the wet step. The front row of seats had folded, shoving the fare box into the aisle. He jogged the center aisle, braced for bodies. Just seats, torn vinyl, half a backpack still zipped, an umbrella, cartoon frogs, bright green, untouched by blood or debris. The back row was empty too. He checked the side doors, the windows, a single shoe stuck between seats, otherwise empty. Paper clung to Diego's jacket as he staggered to the sedan, legs shaky, head swimming. It wasn't locked. It swung open, half ripped away already by the angle of the landing. Inside, no trace of life. Just as deserted as the other two vehicles had been. The airbag had gone off, but its chalky coating was unblemished. As he pulled back out of the wreck, his eyes caught the rear-view mirror. The highway was gone. Instead, endless aisles stretched into impossible distance. Polished floors gleamed under fluorescent banks that marched toward infinity. He whipped around, craning his neck to look through the sedan's rear window. Rain-slicked asphalt, scattered debris, his pickup on its side, wheels still spinning. Normal. Catastrophic, but normal. His eyes snapped back to the mirror. Highway. Just highway. Water streaming across cracked pavement, storm clouds pressing low. His vision swam at the edges.
Get it together, man.
His phone came loose from his back pocket as he clambered out. He hunched behind the ruined hulk of his truck to check the screen. Chief Ross, 2 missed calls, a text. Diego thumbed it open. Forget the station. Meet at address below. Bring radio. 6th and Calder. Out. It took Diego a second to remember what the hell was at 6th and Calder. Then he had it. The old Leighton Arms apartments. The kind with window shakers and yellowed brick, sometimes doubled as an unofficial station overflow during town brush fires or mass calls. Not close, but not crazy either. He scanned the cab for the emergency red box. It had fallen off the bracket during the spin, but the plastic case was intact. He found his old Motorola and stuffed it into his coat pocket. The rear end of Diego's truck was torn open from the roll, but it had taken most of the force, left the bed a crumpled bowl of gnarled steel. Diego's motorcycle had ridden out the spin, jammed sideways between toolbox and tailgate, wedged so tight the frame was bent slightly at the forks. He whistled as much appreciation as pain. He'd seen worse rolled off the freeway by bigger idiots than him. He climbed up, braced his weight, and started wrenching it loose. Each yank sent a blinding stripe of electricity through his palms. Beth hunched forward over the steering wheel, squinting through the downpour as the glass fogged from her breath.
How the hell is it this damn cold and raining? In January.
Mariana twisted the heat dial higher, watching condensation bead and streak down her window. Both of their shifts at the gas station had run 2 hours over because of call-ins.
Why did we even bother putting on makeup? It's like the sky personally hates us. You seeing this? That's another traffic light out. 3rd one since Walgreens. Whole grid is gonna go any second. I'm calling it now.
Mariana sat curled in the passenger seat, arms hugged tight around herself. She gave a small, apologetic smile.
Yeah, figures. But honestly, I don't think we want to test this one. Those clouds look pissed. We're gonna get home, put on crappy TV, and eat whatever's in the freezer. That's the new plan.
They rolled past slowly. The man, Diego, looked half dead, soaked, fighting the wind just to stand upright.
Should we call 911 or something? Girl, no. You see this? This is about to turn into hail. I'm not stopping in the middle of this shit and getting killed because we decided to play hero. Someone else will get it.
Mariana kept staring out the window, her face twisting with worry.
Let's get home before this storm cracks my windshield more than it already is.
Beth slammed the brakes as they turned onto their street. Red and blue emergency lights pulsed through the downpour, illuminating a barricade of cruisers and fire engines. Through sheets of rain, they glimpsed workers in yellow slickers wrestling with fallen cables. Lightning flashed, revealing something wrong with the skyline ahead. A gap where familiar buildings should be, but darkness swallowed the view before either woman could process what they'd seen.
This day just keeps getting better. The whole street? Can we get in through the parking lot on Cross Avenue?
Beth nodded, swinging the car around road cones.
Good idea. Except they blocked that one too. What the fuck?
A firefighter slogged toward them through ankle-deep water, his reflective stripes glowing under emergency lights. Mariana had gone quiet beside her, staring past the barricade at something Beth couldn't yet see. You need to turn around. Area's unsafe. City emergency protocol.
Our apartment is right there.
Beth jabbed her finger toward the block. The firefighter's expression shifted. Ma'am, nobody told you.
Told me what? I just need to...
Mariana's fingers dug into Beth's forearm.
Beth, look.
Beth followed her gaze and felt her stomach drop. Where their 3-story apartment complex should have stood was nothing. A perfect void cut into the landscape.
That's not... How is that...
The firefighter's radio erupted with panicked voices. He spun around, hand flying to his helmet. Down the street, a motorcycle weaved through debris, its rider hunched against the gale. Behind it, something massive. A wall of churning darkness that devoured streetlights, trees, and pavement as it advanced. Firefighters scattered, some frantically waving, others running for their trucks. Mariana's breath stopped. Beth's scream caught in her throat as the roaring darkness surged toward them. The mall opened for business. The glossy white stone floor stretched endlessly, its pristine surface highlighted by silver trim. Lining either side of the enormous white marble road, perfectly arranged shopping aisles extended beyond normal perception, organized yet oppressive in their uniformity. Above, an inky void hung heavy, pierced only by fluorescent lights, each one suspended by metal chains, swaying gently in a non-existent breeze. Diego pushed himself off the floor, wincing, his worn leather duster dripping on the floor. He reached for the back of his head, fingers coming away slick with dried blood.
My crew. Did we get evac'd here?
But as his vision cleared, the disorientation in his chest twisted into something worse. His motorcycle was gone, and this place, This massive retail expanse wasn't a highway, didn't look anywhere near the neighborhood he'd been driving down last.
Where the fuck am I?
Aisle after aisle of sporting goods stretched into infinity. Diego's eyes followed the geometric precision, kayaks arranged in meticulous order, their bright colors standing out against the stark white floor. Each section was carefully curated, showcasing an array of equipment that seemed to beckon him forward. The air was thick with the scent of new plastic and rubber, a bizarre contrast to the chaos he had just escaped. Not a price tag hung anywhere. No red-vested employees roamed the floor. No registers waited to exchange goods for currency. When he turned, Diego faced twin revolving doors of glass and chrome that towered 2 stories high, sealed shut against whatever waited outside.
Tried 'em already. Locked.
An older man's voice came from the floor next to a shelf of camping chairs. He waved at Diego. The man was positioned facing the store frontage, cell phone in one hand, Bud Light in the other. Permanent scowl on his face. He looked precisely in line with target demographics for this place.
Fred.
Diego nodded, relieved to see another face, even an angry one.
Diego, hey, have you seen any of Gratiot FDP guys around? I think they must have housed us here for temp shelter or something.
Yeah, makes sense, but no. At least not that I can recall. Me and the wife got blown into a ditch by the winds. Guess it knocked me out. We both woke up here about an hour ago.
Was I out that long?
He didn't ask why the hell no one had checked on him, but the seed was planted.
Dunno. It was just me and Helen, my wife, when I came to.
Where is she now?
We're in a mall. Where do you think? Spending my money somewhere.
Diego pulled out his phone, squinting at the no service icon, mocking him from the top of the screen.
Doors are locked and I couldn't get anyone on my phone. Towers are probably down. By the sound of it, doubt it's a good idea to go outside yet anyways.
Fred squinted toward the camping section.
The hell was that?
Diego stepped forward.
Someone's hurt.
Or someone's sick, which, ain't great either.
Diego shot him a look. Fred lifted his free hand in surrender. Diego approached the end of the aisle first, peering around the corner, and flinched back. A woman was braced over a waist-high display rack, coughing hard enough her whole body shook. One hand clutched her stomach, the other steadying herself against the shelf. Her dark hair clung to her face, soaked with sweat or rain, he couldn't tell which.
Christ almighty, warn a guy.
Hey, ma'am, you okay?
The woman startled, spinning toward him with wide, alarmed eyes. For a second, she looked ready to bolt. Then she saw Diego's uniform pants, the cracked phone in his hand, the ragged wound on his head. Something in her posture softened.
I'm fine. Just dizzy. Sick. I don't know where I am.
Yeah, you and me both.
I'm saying this with all due respect, miss. You scared the hell out of us.
Name's Diego.
Mariana. My car, there was a storm, and then I was here. Beth was driving.
Fred scratched his jaw.
You too, huh?
She looked past them toward the enormous glass frontage, toward the faint metallic rumble vibrating the floor. All three turned toward the front at once. Diego stared at the glass. Mariana took another stumbling step away from the frontage, grabbing Diego's arm for balance.
What is that?
Looks like a semi.
It's not stopping.
Away from the windows. Move!
Jeremy came to with the jarring sense of heat. Smoke clawed at his throat, filling the sideways cabin with an acrid stench of burning oil, diesel, and scorched metal. Everything was wrong. His body hung awkwardly, gravity pulling him toward the driver's side door. The entire rig was sideways. Blood, coffee, oil, everywhere. His? Egon's? Egon! Jeremy wiped soot from his eyes, craning his neck. Outside the shattered windshield, a surreal sight. Through the haze of smoke and flames, towering mall aisles stretched endlessly into the distance. His head pounded. His ribs screamed in protest. He twisted, ignoring the pain, searching. He saw him. The sleeper cabin was twisted beyond recognition. Egon was half-pinned, wedged between the crushed interior and the flames licking hungrily at the walls. But he wasn't screaming. He was fighting, a fire extinguisher in hand, frantically trying to beat back the blaze. Jeremy shook off the fog in his brain.
It's a lost cause, brother. We gotta move.
Egon didn't stop. Not until the fire roared back with a vengeance, heat blasting them both in a final warning. He finally let go of the extinguisher, but they were out of time. The cabin's interior was a furnace. Diesel leaked from the ruptured tank. They were seconds away from an explosion. Outside the truck, Diego moved. He lunged toward the hiking section, yanking a grappling hook and rope off the display. An LED sign flickered overhead.
2 daily items remaining.
His mind was already moving to the next problem. How do I pry open the wreck? His brother Martin had been trapped in their minivan once. They'd needed a crowbar. No crowbars here, but a titanium pickaxe. Perfect. He grabbed it off the rack.
1 daily item remaining.
This time, he saw it, but he didn't have time to process the warning. He sprinted back and hurled the grappling hook upward. It caught the rig's passenger side door. Inside, Jeremy and Egon didn't question the silhouette emerging through the smoke. Diego jammed the pickaxe into the warped door frame. Jeremy braced himself and kicked. The frame gave. Together, he and Diego hauled Egon up and out, barely clearing the cab as the flames surged. The 3 men hit the ground hard, coughing, choking, ears ringing. Jeremy and Diego were bruised, burned, battered. But Egon, his back was a mangled mess of blistered skin and melted fabric. He wouldn't be walking anywhere. Jeremy dragged himself upright, despite the ringing in his ears. Everything inside him hurt, but Egon was worse. Far worse.
Egon, hey, look at me.
Egon didn't respond. He barely even breathed. Jeremy scanned the aisles through the haze. Sporting goods, camping, climbing. He crawled until he spotted a bright red first aid kit on a shelf display. He yanked it down.
2 daily items remaining.
The LED screen overhead flashed twice, then went dark.
What the hell is that?
But the warning dissolved in the smoke. He tore open the med kit and went to work. Gauze, burn gel packets, bandage rolls.
Hold on, brother. Stay with me. I got you.
Diego crouched beside them, winded and ashen. Jeremy looked up at him.
You alone? Any other first responders here?
Just us.
We need to get some on the horn then. Now. Egan needs medical attention. Yesterday.
Ow, ow, ow! Jesus, hello? Anyone?
One of yours.
Stay with him. I'll check it.
They found her 3 aisles down, half buried under a collapsed display of metal shelving and promotional kayaks. Beth's face was contorted with pain, tears streaking through the dust on her cheeks.
For fuck's sake, Fred! You took long enough. God, my leg. Don't just stand there. Someone do something.
Diego knelt beside her.
Ma'am, Beth, we're here. Just don't move.
I'm Pinned, genius. Where were you people?
Fred arrived late, panting, still clutching his beer can.
I was doing my best, woman.
Ah!
Her leg was broken clean through, bone displaced, skin intact but swollen and wrong in all the worst ways.
We got another injured. Make it quick.
They worked together, Diego and Fred lifting the shelving just enough for Beth to drag herself free.
Foot's crushed in a damn vice. Oh, God.
We'll get you stable.
As they maneuvered Beth to safety, Diego's boot caught on something beneath the twisted metal. He knelt down, pushing aside a fragment of display case. 2 bodies lay entangled in the debris. A man and woman, limbs bent at impossible angles. Jeremy crouched beside him.
These wounds.
Jeremy pointed to the blackened, puckered flesh around what remained of the man's torso.
This wasn't recent.
There's no smell.
Jeremy nodded, noticing the woman's desiccated fingers clutching a plastic shopping bag. Beside her lay 5 items in a neat row: a flashlight, trail mix, a hunting knife, bottled water, and a rolled-up blanket.
The crash didn't kill them? What did?
Jeremy's fingers hovered over the blackened entry wounds, not quite touching.
It looks like high explosive rounds. A whole lot of them.
Who the hell brings that kind of firepower to a mall?
Jeremy's eyes lingered on the corpses a moment longer.
People turn weird during natural disasters. Fog of war. Civilian issue.
Unreported? Left here for days? The fuck is going on with this place?
He grabbed Diego's shoulder, pulling him back toward the injured.
Let's focus on the living. Egon first, then Beth. Then we figure out what the hell is going on.
Fred nearly threw his phone.
This is bullshit. Tower must be down from the storm. I'm gonna try from outside.
Fred, don't!
But he was already stomping toward the massive rupture in the shattered storefront. Fred pushed through the jagged opening and stepped outside. The parking lot stretched before him, except it wasn't a parking lot anymore. Between islands of cracked asphalt floated absolute darkness. Cars appeared to sink into black mist that swirled around their tires. Above, the sky churned like spilled oil. Fred registered none of this.
Damn storm's still going.
Digging for a cigarette in his pocket. The bent stick found his lips while he balanced his phone on a chunk of concrete, thumbed speaker, and punched in 911.
How may I help you?
Fred's thumb froze mid-flick. The voice hadn't come from his phone. It had spoken directly behind him. Fred turned, slow as ice melting. Across the fractured lot stood a figure in pristine white. It moved with mechanical grace between the void pools, each step bringing it closer without seeming to cross the distance naturally. The man wore an immaculate suit, crisp tie, and where a face should be, only smooth obsidian darkness, interrupted by 2 shallow depressions that might have been eyes.
Shit.
Fred's cigarette tumbled from his mouth. The beer can slipped from nerveless fingers. The man in white glided forward.
The best shopping experience comes from within.
The man in white extended a hand toward Fred. Fred's stomach twisted with primal recognition. Between one heartbeat and the next, the figure shifted forward without walking. Closer. Then closer again. Obsidian fingers reached for Fred's face. His knees buckled. Air froze in his lungs. His body understood what his mind couldn't process. Then instinct took over. He bolted for the storefront, boots pounding wet pavement. The entrance seemed to recede with every desperate stride. His chest burned. Fred stumbled backward through the shattered storefront, boots skidding on broken glass as he retreated into the mall.
Hello, sir? Can you tell me where you are? We can't find you on our GPS. Hello, what is your emergency?
Hello? Sir?
Fred leaned against a display rack, trembling violently. His mouth moved, but no words formed, just a slurred, broken jumble.
Diego, there was...
Diego looked up from Egon.
Fred, slow down. You're okay. What happened?
Fred shook his head hard, squeezing his eyes shut.
No.
He jabbed a finger toward the ruined entrance. But when Diego looked, there was only smoke and the bending tongues of fire.
Diego, need hands here. Talk to him later.
Mariana hovered beside them, pale, anxious, one hand gripping Beth's uninjured wrist in a grounding gesture as Beth rocked in place, gasping through the pain. Diego knelt again, helping Jeremy lift Egon onto the broken hull of a paddleboard to act as a stretcher.
If this thing gets any worse, I'm gonna pass out.
You're fine. Stay with us.
He looked up.
We need help. Anyone see a damn worker? Security? Someone?
Hello? Hello, anyone?
There was a... Someone was out there.
Fred, focus. Service is still dead. Damn it.
Everyone back. That fire's crawling up the shelving.
We stay here, we're gonna get roasted. Move deeper.
He and Jeremy hauled Egon's makeshift stretcher away from the flames. Mariana kept Beth upright as they hurried together down the widening aisle. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with a woman stepping casually out of the restroom hallway.
Oh, there y'all are. I was looking everywhere.
Helen? The hell you been?
Helen beamed at him.
There you are, honey. I told you I'd find a bathroom eventually. Had to go so bad.
She patted his shoulder, oblivious to his trembling. Then she took in the others. Diego's bleeding head, Mariana's shaking arms, Jeremy coated in soot. Her brow furrowed with mild confusion, then brightened again.
Did I miss something?
Fred just stared at her, unable to speak.
Lady, are you kidding me?
Good. You're here. I make 7. Stick close, people.
Y'all cooking something?
No, honey. Their truck just crashed. I'll tell you about it later.
Ahead of them, the aisle stretched into the endless white void of the mall. They regrouped deeper in the aisle, away from the burning breach. Jeremy knelt over Egon. Mariana steadied Beth, who hissed with every movement.
Hell with it.
Are you serious, dude? You can't smoke in a store.
Lady, the store exploded. I think they'll get over it.
He got the cigarette lit, took one shaky drag. A jet of high-pressure blue fire-suppressant foam blasted him square in the chest. Fred flailed, staggering backward, cigarette yanked from his mouth by the sheer force of the spray.
God, what the?
Jeremy's knees bent, shoulders squared, muscle memory from another life.
We've got company.
It emerged from the white haze at the atrium's far end. 20 feet of precision engineering. Its head scraped fluorescence. Chrome limbs caught the light. Insect-jointed, modular, efficient. Fire died under blue frost, hissing its surrender. Without pause, the machine's torso rotated. Panels slid open. Tools deployed with watchmaker precision. Lasers mapped the destruction in emerald grids. Then, the impossible. Glass fragments rose from the floor. Shattered pieces found their mates. Within moments, the entrance stood pristine. No fire, no truck, no evidence of catastrophe. Only a scorch mark remained. Jeremy's jaw slackened. Light washed over Jeremy's face.
Greetings, valued customer. You have one daily item remaining. Please comply with store policy.
Store what now?
The machine hesitated, as if calculating a response, before components folded inward like origami. It retreated into the mall's endless white corridor.
Did you see that?
Giant robot playing janitor and talking about customer service. Nah, must have missed it.
Mariana held on to Beth a little tighter.
What does it mean? Daily items. What does that mean?
I don't want to know.
Not exactly common.